In the middle of the 17th century, of the Cape Province of South Africa, the Dutch, hailing from their home country of Dutchland, bicycle Dutchland that is, not sausage Dutchland, have arrived at an unspoiled piece of land, as Europeans always do when reaching new territories. They cut down the acacias. Europeans wouldn't have you believe otherwise, but they hate acacias. So much, in fact, that several hundred years from now, they will sell the exclusive copyright name to acacias to Australia. But as Europeans do, they start to plant their native home trees to make the area feel more homely. From there they build paths and of course houses. And now the colonial process is complete. And so the Dutch colonialists named this area of land Klein Tuin. Move forward a few hundred years' time, and a wealthy family by the name of De Hoort decided to buy the Klein Tuin Estate. And from here, our story begins.
Hello everyone! So how was that intro? Yeah, that was my David Attenborough inspired voice. Hopefully we won't hear from him in a while. But anyway, welcome to the Klein Tuin Zoo. A little zoo I am working on here, starting in Planet Zoo. But it's going to be very different than what I would normally do for a zoo project. And that this will be a very old zoo. It would have been established somewhere at the start of the 20th century. And from there I'll see how the zoo changes throughout all the years. So now the first wave of episodes, let's say, will be very olden style exhibits, a real olden zoo. And as you could see from that little intro clip, there will be a bit of lore in the zoo. I'm going to give it like some proper history to make it a bit more interesting, more fascinating watch. I'll try and do some bit more lore stuff in those intro clips and maybe explain a bit more. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, this zoo is based in South Africa, somewhere in the Cape. Not sure where, either Eastern Cape or Western Cape, or one of those more popular cities because they would be able to sustain a zoo. But anyway, as you can see in the background, I am building a little a farmhouse that would have been built on the estate that would be turned into the zoo at a later date. So the zoos you probably hear me refer to a bunch of zoos quite often. The zoo is based in South Africa. I will be looking at a lot of old South African zoos. So you probably hear me talk about Pretoria Zoo, Johannesburg Zoo, maybe East London Zoo and Mitchell's Park Zoo, and the Groote Schuur Zoo, which you'll hear me talk about in a little bit, because this house I'm building is based on the Groote Schuur Estate and a bit of the story. So story-wise, yeah, there was this estate here, and a family decided to buy the estate, and in a few years' time they developed a private collection of animals, and of course from there established a zoo for the public to see. So as you can see here, we're working on this little cottage in the back, and this cottage is heavily inspired by the Groote Schuur Estate. So what Groote Schuur is, was a property first owned by the Dutch East India Trading Company. This little house I'm building on was a granary built somewhere in the 1600s, and then near the end of the 1800s, Cecil John Rhodes, a businessman and politician, he was the Prime Minister of the Cape Colonies, I believe, for a few years. He purchased this house, not this house, but the Groote Schuur Estate, and from there he lived on there, modified the granary to become a nice little house, and he built a zoo. Well, not a zoo, he built a private collection. And once he died, the collection was donated, the property itself, the whole property was donated to the government. And so in 1930, they converted his private collection into a full-out public zoo that anyone could come and see. And while it did close in I think 1975, it closed or so, somewhere around there. So yeah, unfortunately it doesn't exist now, but the not ruins really, but the abandoned structures and buildings of the zoo still stand today, so you can go and check those out. A lot of abandoned exhibits. It really gives a good snapshot into the time frame of which the zoo was built in. So I'm definitely going to be taking a lot of inspiration from there, from the zoo. It was built there. But what I'm building right now isn't actually part of the zoo. This is the estate house. Well, not what I'm building exactly, but the reference. I took reference from the estate house. If you see pictures, I'll probably put some up later once the house is done. I definitely got a lot inspired from there. The back area of the house, this little right wing I'm working on, there weren't a lot of pictures on the internet of this part, so this one I kind of guessed, but the front and the back of the house, you'll definitely see where I got the motivation from. So, like I said, this house was built by the Dutch East India Trading Company, and built as a granary. And when Cecil Rhodes came in, he decided to convert it into a nice house and admin building. And the style this building was bought in is a Cape Dutch style. Well, Cape Dutch revival to be exact, because when Cecil Rhodes bought this property and wanted to convert this house into a nice living space, he contacted Sir Herbert Baker, an architect, and the architect, Sir Herbert Baker, drew inspiration from the Cape Dutch style to modify this house. So essentially created Cape Dutch revival, being a mix of Cape Dutch and I think classic English home, something like that, some English home. I'm not sure how that looks, but gives us this nice little Cape Dutch mansion we have here that I based on for the estate on this property. And essentially the Cape Dutch style, what it consists of, I have a list on Wikipedia, is whitewashed walls, which you can definitely see that's a main thing, and these detailed gables that will extend over the roof. Those are the two main things in Cape Dutch houses. They sometimes have wood shutters over the windows, which I do when I have the windows, and also use green detailing. So if you watch my Cape Dutch cafe on the Planet Zoo beta I made, then you'll definitely see I use those green to detail. But yeah, I decided not to. I decided let's have a blue roof with some wood detailing. And also another thing they do is thatch roofing, which is often done, but most modern houses, Cape Dutch houses, actually ignore the thatching. They don't have a lot of that anymore. And I believe the actual house, the Groote Schuur Estate house, did have a fire sometime in it, and I think maybe after that they decided to convert to tile roofing. I don't know, that's a preference of the builder, I guess. Maybe if you prefer thatch or tile roofing, but I think as tile roofing became more available, they switched over to that. So yeah, that's the Cape Dutch style which I'm building here. Is found, as I said, as you'd expect, in the Cape, which is the southern and the western parts of South Africa. So nowadays you don't really get a lot of Cape Dutches. A lot of farmhouses in the Cape along the wine route, you'd see them. I went to one I think a few years ago, which was a wine farm, but also they turned their house into a little guest area with a lot of picnic areas and, I don't know, wine tasting and chocolate tasting and that whole little community thing you could do there. So, and I think some historical towns also still have the Cape Dutch buildings, but for the most part they have been abandoned, I think. Not abandoned, but yeah, deconstructed for more modern developments. I think the popularity dropped out in the middle of the 1800s, but then with this, like I said, this Cape Dutch revival style, as you would expect by the name revival, it brought back the Cape Dutch style. So a few developments did come back, with I think some in Gauteng, which is the northeastern side, not the Cape, also brought in this Cape Dutch style, which is but where you wouldn't normally find it. So yeah. As for this time lapse, I did cut a bit of it off. I spent like a few days building this, actually detailing this house and that, so I had to cut a lot of it out. There's also a lot of clips where I don't know, I'm moving the camera a lot, so yeah, I had to cut those out. Anyway, now you see me doing some terrain work, which is quite exciting. I'm using this new what's it called, a terrain stamp. It's really a useful tool, you should use it. And this cool trick with the monorail track that you can use to get a nice gradient that you want, and then build the terrain around that. I saw Rudy Drenkamel use it, I think, and I think Ruble Trillions, I believe, saw them use it. I got that from them. It really is neat, and what I really want to focus on in this is actually have a differentiating terrain, because one thing South Africa is not is flat. There's lots of hills and all inclines and that. So all my zoos beforehand, in like Zoo Tycoon 2 and that, have all been pretty flat actually. Even my Planet Goes to Zoo, the only time I actually used terrain was probably for that lion exhibit. Yeah, I just had a steep cliff, but now I want to actually have proper terrain. I want to try and have proper hills, which I'm hoping I can do. So after I do some of this hill, I don't do it entirely. I just build it enough to get the general height and slope for the house face, and then later after this I do this episode, I'll probably go on and do it off camera, finish the whole terrain. So yeah, I think giving the terrain a little bit, like putting a bunch of hills in, will definitely give a cool terrain challenge for me to work with, which I've never done before. So I'll have maybe one major hill or two hills, also some inclines and declines here and there. And once I do the major terrain work, I don't want to change it. I want that to be there. I might do minor changes to the terrain, but no major hill reduction or something, because that'll be a challenge I can work around, and pretty realistic, because on the property you're not going to have really flat land, or not flat land on this scale at least. So it's going to be hilly, and then you're going to have to work around that or try and incorporate that. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. As for foliage I do later on, as you remember in the intro video where I talked about how Europeans cut down native trees and planted their own. It's kind of what happened on the Groote Schuur Estate, because when the Dutch East India Trading Company came and modified the land, they cut down all the indigenous trees and planted their own trees. Namely, I think stone pines they planted. Yeah, because apparently that gives it a nice the landscape gives it a nice European feel to it. And so that gives it, yes, I think a preferred aesthetic they wanted with the stone pines. So later on, I think technically early on in the time lapse, I planted a bunch of stone pines to kind of serve that purpose, and then as well as some coniferous and deciduous trees that look European. So they're definitely alien foliage. I think what I'll do later on, I haven't done the landscaping yet, but the rest of the landscaping, when I do it, you'll see next episode, hopefully, will be I'll have a bit more indigenous plants on the outskirts of the estate. So on the hills where the people don't really go so much, on the corners there'll be a lot more acacias and succulents and native plants, whereas near the house and probably near the borders of the estate, once I make the fence and that, there'll be these European trees. So as you can see here in the back now, I'm working on this garden, which I took also from the Groote Schuur Estate, which I thought was a really neat garden. It has these terraces. How far did I say terraces? But these terraces with these retaining walls holding the soil back, and in these there are nice flower patches. So I was really quite disappointed at the fact that there's not a lot of flexicolor flowers as well in this game. There's like, people have problems with flexicolor items, but plants also, which is a bit annoying. I guess it's realistic because flowers sometimes only come in one color, but if you give us the option to recolor some flowers, we can then use them and pretend that they're another type of flower. So that would have been really useful if some of these flowers were flexicolor. There actually was no roses. I think there's like one white rose bush, which is really weird. But yeah, on Planet Coaster we had a nice rose bush you can recolor to be red flowers or white flowers, or maybe even make it green so it simulates a bush. But you can't do that right here in Planet Zoo, which is annoying. I really hope we get some recolorable flowers, or at least more flowers afterwards. But I think recoloring the flowers would be a good choice, because they can't give us every single flower. Yeah, and afterwards off camera I do go in with a mulch to put in these planters, because the soil colors are very light here in the grassland biome. I'm not sure where Frontier was doing their research, but the soil are never this light in anywhere in a savanna or grassland. I'm pretty, at least not where I've been. Never seen such light soil colors, but oh well. I guess we gotta use it as a workaround. Yeah, the time lapse is almost done, so I'm just gonna go hop into real time to show you some stuff on the house that I actually didn't do in the time lapse, because like I said, I worked on this a few days, so I had to cut some stuff out. Yeah, let's plop into the real time and I'll show you some stuff there. Okay, so welcome to the Klein Tuin Estate, or at least what I've built of it. And see, I just have a little hill there. This is a planning for a road and that, but I'll do that later on. And see, we have a little hill with our house here. So like I said earlier, I did plant a whole bunch of trees, very European-y, very alien. It wouldn't normally be found here. So yeah, because that's what the colonial people, when people colonized areas, did. They chopped down the native trees and made the area remind them of home a little bit. But anyway, here's the front of the house. I'll probably bring up a picture of the actual house and you'll definitely see the inspiration I had for it, with the little planters and the staircase that goes up. These are sunken mangrove trees, I believe. Yeah, as you can see, they mangrove trees that go in there, and you just put them in a pot and you get that cool effect. And I just put some ferns up here, because always when you see pictures of this house, there's always pot plants in front of it. Even in modern times, they have the whole pot plants in there, so I decided to keep that. And here I put a little mural up, because initially there's like a mural with some people on there. I don't know, I'm not too sure what it represents, but now I just put some animals up there because it's a zoo, so, or it will be a zoo. But now it's just an estate. So yeah, the side building. The side building is pretty much guesswork. I couldn't find any pictures on how it looked in real life from this angle. We've got a few entrances going in here, in and out. We've got a wing over here and a wing over there. No interior, because that would have taken me way too long, and I don't really... Yeah, it wouldn't have been worth to make the insides of a house in Planet Zoo, I think. Got a few chimneys actually on the building. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the actual house I could find 9 on one picture, so yeah, no. These people there, I guess, gets really cold in Cape Town in the winter. Gets wet and cold and miserable, so you'd want a lot of fires to keep your house nice and warm. I'm not sure 9 fires though, but hey, back then, I guess. Didn't have global warming, so it was a lot colder probably. And I did do some gutter work on here just to give that a little bit of extra detail. The gutters themselves don't stick out too much, but the downpipes is here. They add that nice bit of extra detail. Could check on the front of the house as well, actually. You can see you have some gutter pipes. And for some reason, when they're in the shade, they rarely conflict. If you have white gutter pipes in the shade, they don't like that. They like jumping around all over the place, which is a bit annoying. So let's check. This is the back of the house. Actually realized I should put some pot plants up here as well, but I didn't. I have this nice little patio. Initially in the house, actually I'm not too sure, but these patios might just be more decorative than actually sitting on. Is this called a patio? Whatever this is, I think you have the... It's more decorative because the bars that walk across it is just kind of a rope fence, like a single little rope. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, you'd have this kind of rope, only, you know, a lot smaller, and then just across there, so it wasn't really safe. And I couldn't find... There's not that much doors. There's like a little window thing here, which I think might have been a door. I don't know for sure. I know there was a door there in the actual house. And the front porch, this window thing here might have been a door, but not quite too sure. There's no other way to actually get onto this front porch and open and close and do the shutters. Yeah, another weird thing in these Cape Dutch houses, everyone I saw, the shutters are only on windows you can reach from the ground, from outside. In these elevated floors, you would not have the shutters, but on the lower floors and these ones with a path on the top, you'd have shutters. This interesting thing, I'm not sure why. I did add this little octagon thing on the side because that's in the initial house. I thought it's a cool thing because this house, which is normally triangles and rectangles, you have this little half octagon sticking out. It was a cool, unique feature of it. So I'll probably actually put up a picture of the actual house now so you can get a good comparison. Definitely see where I got the inspiration from. And yeah, we got little terrace gardens over here. When I do more terrain work, when I continue this terrain, I'll probably put like another garden or something there. Maybe a little vegetable garden. Just so it doesn't look... It doesn't contrast to all the trees sticking around it too much. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the actual house itself. That's all the features I wanted to show you. I did that little door to get up here, I guess. But I don't know why. Something goes wrong. Yeah, that's it. And thank you for watching the first episode of Klein Tuin Zoo. Hopefully, either next episode or the episode after that, we can actually get some animals in here. We'll build some herbivore pens. But I hope to see you in those ones. Thanks for watching. Bye.